How many of y'all came to Montgomery, Alabama, and the first thing you thought about was football? When people come to Alabama, the first thing they always think about is football. But you leave here, when y'all finish this weekend, it's my hope that when you go back and people say, all those folks in Alabama don't know nothing but football, I want you to go back and say, no, they're just as proud of their history, their civil rights history.
My name is Izzy Redmond, and I'm from Michigan. I'm the president of the Black Student Athlete Association at Arizona State. I think of the civil rights movement, I do think about John Lewis and the Edmund Pettus Bridge March. That was kind of my introduction into civil rights and being involved in it. You know, you learn about it a little bit in school, and of course, growing up in a Black community, you hear about this and how important it is, but that was kind of my introduction into being active with civil rights and social justice.
You're gonna see some great things the next couple of days. And I'm so excited that y'all get to see that, to get to experience what you're gonna experience in Selma.
I know a lot of people who have no idea the history of Selma, who hadn't heard about it until this trip that I was going. People don't necessarily realize how recent this history is, and I think that there is a lot of education that could be done. I hope to learn as much as I can that kind of has gone untalked about and unheard for me, kind of fill in those gaps of that history, and again, just to stand in the place where people before me who have fought for social justice, kind of to be in that same place and feel the weight of that experience.
The Voting Rights Act of 1965, and I'm gonna get to that, I'm gonna tell you a little more about it later, but it was brought about by children. The desegregation laws of 1964 was brought about by children. So when I talk to young people, I want you to know the power you have. You have a voice. Everybody don't have to go to jail, they don't have to get beat up. To use that voice to bring about change.
That church was honestly really impactful, just driving up to it and seeing it. You hear the stories, that's where Martin Luther King did his speeches. So that was a very big moment. And the speakers that we heard from Linda Lowry, who was at the Bloody Sunday March, and just hearing her story and kind of her retelling of it was very moving.
Bloody Sunday came about because of the death of a young man named Jimmy Lee Jackson. He was shot during the night march. We marched to abreast. We were led by the late Congressman John Lewis, Hosea Williams, Mr. Albert Turner of Marion, and our student leader, Charles Martin.
You know, there's a lot of emotion in that. There's anger, pain, tears, but also like the hope and inspiration that she brought just, you know, really inspired me and kind of, you know, it was really impactful for me. Right now we're marching, just about to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge, so the same route that the freedom fighters were marching for voting rights in 1965. We walked that same path, literally in the footsteps of these great legends. A lot of emotion in that. The civil rights movement was really about gaining equal justice for Black African Americans in that time. I did not know how involved students were, and so that for me was really impactful because it kind of showed me that I can make a difference now as a student athlete, and inspired me to kind of keep going in my fight and in my journey. We all have the power to make change, even as a student. I think for me, I mean, this has been a life-changing experience for me, but I think the biggest thing is that our history is important, that there's a lot of stuff that's not talked about, and that history is American history. We all should be learning about it and dedicating ourselves to understanding it so that we can fight for the equal justice in the future.